Hello and welcome to another Sonic tutorial. Today I will be teaching you guys how to handle custom containers, and I will try to explain a little bit more of what a container actually is, because I know that when you are starting to learn this new language, a lot of people have some misconceptions about what a container actually is, right? So let's begin. I'm gonna create a program here. This is our 10th class, which is quite nice. I'm gonna create it with top include, so this is gonna be a module pool program. Alright, so I'm creating my program. What I am gonna do is basically two things. This program I wanted to have a selection screen and let's say two ALVs at the same screen, so we can exercise this container thing. So the first thing we're gonna do here is in our top include, you want to declare a global object which will refer to the standard class custom container. So let's say I have here a global object, right, and it's go container type have to CLG custom container. This is gonna be our first container. You need this object in order to refer to a custom container. Right? How do I create a custom container? You create it on when you create your screen. On the screen painter, you're gonna select the tool custom container and you're gonna just select the place where you want it to be. So let's start with the basics, right? I'm gonna create a custom container and I'm gonna create a grid, which is an ALV grid, right? So this is a classical example where you have an ALV and you want it to show in a specific place. That's why you're gonna use a container, a custom container. Otherwise, you could just use the default screen or that function module which uses the full screen of your SAP. So in this scenario, I want the ALV to be shown in a specific location. Right, so I'm gonna activate my top include. I'm gonna get back here and I'm gonna create both PBO and PAI includes. Right, this. Okay. So what we're gonna do here, we're gonna create a screen. Let's say 100. This is gonna be our main screen, right? At flow logics, we're gonna set the status of our screen, right? So this is, I guess you guys already know that because of my previous tutorial. We use these to configure to set the settings of those application toolbars and those basic functions. Let's say this is a normal screen. So as you already know, you can configure your menu bar, application toolbar, and function keys. I'm just gonna set here the back button, which is basically what I need at this example, right? So activate our maintain status. Not need for a title bar. Okay, screens. Let's go to the layout or screen painter. This place is where you're gonna create and positionate your custom container, right? It's not very difficult. I know it in the beginning is a little bit confusing to understand, but alright, this is our screen, right? I'm gonna just set this a little bit bigger. And we have this function here which is called custom control, right? This is where we're gonna instance our container. So I'm gonna create here one custom control, right? And this name is very important because when you're going to instance your container object, you have to specify the name of the custom control, right? So I'm gonna call this CC from custom control or custom container ALV1, and I'm gonna create another one just for this example, which I will be calling CC ALV2, right? So this is pretty much straightforward. So we have here in our screen two custom controls, right? They, at this moment, nothing is gonna happen because as you can see, I'm just saying this part of the screen is called CCALV1, so there is nothing binded to this specific location of the screen. So if I activate my screen, I'm gonna activate this program, right? And I'm gonna create a quick transaction here just to call my program. Right, this is program end screen. Right, so I have just created a transaction for my program, and it's going to call the screen 100. So I'm going to execute this transaction, and as you can see, there is nothing in it, just the back button, which I have set on the status bar. Alright, so I didn't even configure the PAI module, so I can't actually go back. Now what we have to do is, since I'm using two containers and two ALV grids, I'm gonna be declaring another one here. So we're gonna have container 1 and container 2. Right, and we're gonna have a grid 1 and a grid 2. Right, so this is basically, well, not yet. I'm gonna declare here two global tables just to be the internal tables that will be shown at the ALV. So I want the S-flight table, and I guess S-book. Right, I'm gonna activate the stop include, and what I'm gonna do here, I'm gonna go to my screen. At the flow logics, I'm gonna create another module, and this first module is going to be just to select the data I want. Right? In this example, I don't care about what kind of data I'm gonna show into the ALV, so I'm just going to select all from S-flight and S-book. Right? Up to 50 rows, I guess, and select all from into table. Right, so this is just populating those tables, right? I don't care about the data actually. So I have created my module to select and prepare our tables, our internal tables. And what we need here is a module to let's say create grid 1. Let's start with this. So what this module is actually going to do, this module is going to instance a custom container, right? And then it's gonna instance the ALV grid inside that custom container. And how do you do that? First, we have to check if the container have already been instanced. So we use if the object container 1 is bound, is not bound actually, which means is initial, it's basically. So if this object has not been instanced yet, we're gonna create it, right? So create object container 1, which calls the constructor, right? We have several parameters here we can pass, but not our focus right now in this particular example. What we need is the container name. And what is the container name? The container name is in fact the name of the custom control you have created in your screen. So I'm going back to the screen painter right here, and as you can see, I have CCALV1 and CCALV2. These are the names of our containers, right? This is let's think about custom control as a reserved place. I reserved this place. This is my place, and this place is called ALV1, CCALV1, and this another particular place is called CCALV2, right? So I'm going back to my grid, and this since this is the first grid, I'm gonna create this as CCALV1. Just remembering, you have to pass this value in uppercase, otherwise it's going to give you a short dump. Not sure why, but this is what happens. I'm gonna activate the exceptions. Alright, so what have I just done? You just said that the area called CCALV1 is now instanced inside the container, right? So this container exists, and its reference is the custom control CCALV1, right? So what we're gonna do next, we're gonna check if our container have been successfully instanced. So we're gonna check if container is bound. If so, we're gonna create our grid. We're gonna create our ALV grid. So create object, go grid 1, and as you can see here, those things, we're not gonna use these particular parameters. What do I have to pass to the constructor of the object grid? The parent container. What is a parent container? The parent container is actually pretty simple. It's just the container that your ALV is going to be constructed, right? So since this container is referenced at the custom control ALV1, if I pass this parameter as go container 1, this particular grid is gonna be created inside this container, right? So if you go back to your screen painter, your ALV is going to occupy this particular space right here. So I guess that is pretty much straightforward. I'm just going to activate these exceptions, and alright. So this is basically ready, right? But not yet. Why? You have to use the method set table for first display of the object grid. So I'm just gonna check if our grid has been bound, right? So if so, just call method go grid 1 set table for first display. And what I'm gonna do here, since I'm not in the mode for creating a field catalog, I'm just going to specify the structure name from the data dictionary. So this first ALV is going to show as flight data, right? So this is the name from the ABAP dictionary. Alright, our output table is gonna be IT as flight and nothing else. Activate the exceptions, and we have finished our first ALV. So I'm gonna activate this module. I'm just going to program the the PAI so I don't have to restart the transaction every time. Right, let's go here to user command. I guess you guys already know that from my previous tutorial. Case system user command, when back, leave to screen 0, so it will return to the previous screen. Okay, so I'm gonna execute my transaction, and as you can see, there is nothing here, which is sad. Why? Because I have forgot to activate my screen. Right, guys, don't forget to activate every object in your program by right clicking on it and selecting activate. Right, so this time I hope it should work. I'm gonna run the transaction, and as you can see, our grid is inside that space called CCALV1. Great. So I'm just going to create the second one, which you guys probably already know how to do that because it's basically the same thing. I'm just going to create another module here, create grid 2 and video. I'm just going to copy this code. I'm sorry about that. You guys shouldn't be doing this since you have to write it down to remember. The only difference here is I'm checking container 2, I'm creating the object container 2, and this time I want it to occupy the space called CCALV2. Right? Check if container has been instanced, create grid, and this time the parent container, which is the container where your grid is going to be allocated, you're gonna set it to the container 2, which is our second object. And this is basically just, same thing. Structure name as book, and I choose as book. Okay, don't forget to activate all objects of your program. Don't be a dumbass like me, and just run your transaction. As you can see now, you have 2 different grids with 2 different data at the same screen, occupying the different spaces of your screen. So let's say I want to put the second grid at the bottom of my screen, right? So I'm just going back to my screen 100. I'm opening the screen painter, and what I'm gonna do here, I'm just gonna click and move the custom. I'm just gonna click and move the custom control to the bottom of my page, and I'm gonna stretch this a little bit. We have a lot of columns there to be shown. So now you have changed the layout of your screen, but do you need to change your code for that? No, right? You don't have to change any of your code, right? Why? Because every time you instance this container, it will automatically know you're speaking about the space called CCALV1. Right. So let's activate and run our transaction, and as you can see now, you have 2 different ALV at the same screen, occupying different places on the screen, places which you can select, right? So with this, this is basically what a container is, and containers are not just used for ALV purposes. You can create a container to instance pretty much anything you want. Like, let's say you want to show an HTML viewer, you're gonna need a container. You want to show a CLG picture, you're gonna need a container. So pretty much a lot of objects that work with the framework, that work with the screen, right? They use custom containers for this. Okay, so I guess this have I hope this video has helped you to clarify your ideas of what a container actually is and what it is used for. Sorry about my English. This is our first tutorial in English, and I hope that according to the videos, after some videos, my English got better, and we all get to learn something from this, not just you guys. Yeah, because since actually teaching is learning twice, I'm trying to learn here as well. So thank you very much for watching, and until the next time, bye bye.